Hey everybody, got another video here for you. So, due to the curvature on these jack plates, these screw holes have to be really close to the edge. And just to make sure everything goes smoothly, I'm going to put a little wax in the holes. And wipe off the excess. Even though that's going to be under the plate, you'd never see it. And now the top of the holes are filled with wax, everything should go rather smoothly. The curve is not uniform, so you put the flatter side, which is this side I believe, yeah, that way. There's one side of the jack is flat right here, and so you put that up against the body, and that way you get as much plate as possible over the body. I was considering making like a jack plate, this kind of an idea, but I thought this thing looked better, looks cooler, so I'm going to go like that. So this might be the last build you see me do that has the externally routed wires, because I came up with a way to deal with swing bars and everything. What you do is you do your routing in the back, channels in the body, like I've talked about before, and then you take that 1mm pickguard laminate material and you laminate over the top with that, and then the swing guard goes directly over top of that. And that way you don't have to run wires around the outside with retainer pins, and makes the whole thing look more tidy. Maybe I should take a lesson from Paul Reed Smith and Leo Fender and make the bodies wider here, and then I could do install the switches in recessed cavities in the bodies themselves, and then on the back I could route all the channels for running all the wiring, and then just slap a piece of laminate over it all, the way a Leo would. Really though, the right way to do it is to figure out a good location for a control plate of some sort. And then, no matter what electronics you install on the guitar, you could just slap on the appropriate control plate for like this kind of stuff. This obviously, this button has to be in a particular location because it's something that you use while you're playing, but the rest of it is stuff that you don't generally use while you're playing, depending on what you're doing, you know, and what kind of controls the guitar has. If you're using like gear instead of like pedals and effects and signal processing in order to get a tone, then yeah, you're going to be using volumes and tones and stuff like that in order to tweak what you're pushing to the amp, basically, and make your amp. Tube amps can do some cool things when they're right at the edge of overdrive. So, but anyway, I digress. Oh, cool! I didn't digress because I didn't record it. So, a couple of new tool ideas here. First one is depth stops for drill bits. And Ben Crow, Crimson Guitars, in probably his most recent video, did something like this and mentioned this particular tool. And it was such a good idea, I jumped on Amazon right away and picked up a set myself. So I'm going to be using this for drilling the pinholes for routing the wires. And I also saw another video, I don't remember the name of the channel, but they had the same kind of idea that I had with the reciprocating saw and the file, except they did a reciprocating saw and a StewMac fret crowning file that they'd modified the handle so that it would fit the saw like a saw blade. And so yeah, and it really, it works. Once again, he used a small, like the smallest Bosch unit he could find, and it's a fret crowning file that goes dee power fret crowning file. It's very cool. And he made a good case for why he's using it. The guy's a professional luthier. He does a lot of like recrowns and things like that, and he was using a triangle file, and he was talking about repetitive strain injury and just general fatigue and things like this. So, yeah, things to think about. I swear, it's almost like doing binding. It's all the hold down pins for the wiring on this side. Got to do this and let that dry, because then I got to do this 90-degree turn and come across the bottom. I've got more pins pre-bent and some fresh CA glue. Yeah, that old stuff just got too gummy to deal with, so this is some fresh stuff out of the bottle, nice and drippy. And then pre-cut strips of binding tape. So, got a new quote-unquote tool here for the shop. It's a 3mm thick yoga pad, or yoga mat, and 5'6" by 2 foot for like $9 on Amazon. Picked up 3 of them so that I've got 3 padded benches going now. Another money saving tip for you here. Buy your CA glue in bulk and just dispense it a little bit at a time into a smaller container. And that way you can save on CA glue and it doesn't dry out on you before you use it all. Like the last bottle I had, that had been refilled from an even bigger bottle, and but I only got about halfway through it before it started drying out on me. So I've got much less in this little jar here now. Well, best laid plans. These are the wires coming from the off single double switch, and I've already bent this way a little bit so this thing will turn around at least. And yeah, they just won't reach. There's no way that's going to reach, so I'm going to have to make another wire that's like this much longer, kind of a thing. So instead of like 3-ply binding on the body as a selling point, what do you think of like 4-conductor cable binding as a selling point? Okay, I made a new wire here that goes from the switch to the jack, and it's plenty long enough now, should be. So now I got to pull out all these pins, get this wire off of the body, take this switch out of the panel, take that whole thing off the guitar, unsolder this wire from that switch, solder this one on, put it all back together. I'm not going to bother filming all that. I'll pick up filming again once I get this thing back on here and I'm ready to start connecting my yellow is that's my split wire, and then I just gather up all the hots and grounds and solder them to the jack, and I splice this to the coil split wires on the jack on the pickup here. Okay, I got everything back to where I was before with a longer wire in here now that'll definitely reach the prongs on the jack, so that's not an issue. Now the only thing left to do is yellow goes to split, and then hot and hot and hot go together, and ground and ground and ground and bridge ground go together, and all the hots go on this jack terminal, and all the grounds go on that terminal. And that's all there is to it. So a little delay game there, about 24 hours. The soldering gun stopped working. So I never was able to get the positive bus wire going to the jack, to the positive terminal on the jack. I never was able to get that thing to connect and stay connected. Each of the the negative solder connection to the jack only broke once. The positive one broke 3 times, and I haven't gotten it back together because the gun died on me. But $9 Amazon special, 60 watts, adjustable temperature, little light on it, gets brighter and darker depending on what temperature setting you have. Comes with a little stand, on-off switch built in. Seems to work just fine. And came with solder and a whole selection of about half a dozen different tips, all for like $9. Next day delivery kind of thing. Can't beat it with a stick. But anyway, time to give it a whirl here and see if we can finally get this jack soldered up. Well, it's a little bit of a chore. It's not exactly pretty, but there's a pin there and there's a pin under there, and that got everything secure. And I put a jack in to make sure that everything clears, and it does. And I think probably the next step is going to be to hook up a cable and a little miniature amp and just test to make sure the electronics are working. I can't test the single double part of the single double on off switch, but I can test everything else without strings on it. So, well, it looks like everything's working here, and that's off. And this thing really grabs, and that's single coil. Once again, you can't really tell the difference between single and double coil. and kill button. And yeah, so not much in the way of electronics on this thing, but then it's supposed to be a Purist, so everything seems to be working. And I guess strings and strap locks are next. Looks like my lacquer wasn't quite cured enough, and it actually pulled up a little bit of these new blue pads with it when it had been sitting on it for, I don't know, a day or so. But it comes right off with a little bit of naphtha, so no big issue. I almost forgot, I still need to make a depth pick guard for this thing. So I just took off the tape, and it actually looks kind of cool with the wires running down both sides. So yeah, unexpected little benefit there. I was hoping it wouldn't, look too nasty, but it actually turned out looking kind of cool. Didn't even plan that. Well, usually you have to tap these guys in and bend them over a little bit like you saw me doing there just a minute ago. But on the bottom here and all along this side, there's actually so much cable that there's really no need to even do that. You just drill and glue and it's done. I wish that this part here was a little prettier, but I preserved all the original pickup wires, so there's a reason why it's ugly. So, as you saw when I was cutting them, there's actually a difference in the height in these two standing blocks for this thing. This one in the back is 16 mil, and this one in the front is 18 mil. And it worked out just the way I wanted. This is 2-inch thick pickguard material. I mean 2 millimeter thick. So this is 18 mil up from the body, and that puts it just a hair underneath the edge of the fingerboard. And up at this end, this is a total of 18 with the plastic, and that puts it just a hair underneath the height of this rail. So yeah, everything worked out perfect. Measure twice, cut once. And no sanding to fit. Okay, I think that's going to do it for this video. So until the next one, everybody, have a good one.